focusing on remote, focusing on acceleration, focusing on local, focusing on automation, focusing on safety. These are going to, and focusing on content creation like you guys are doing with this podcast. These are going to be the business models of the future.
Welcome to The Visionary Entrepreneur. My name is Dane Dunlap.
And I'm Nicholas Genovese.
This is a podcast where we interview entrepreneurs about their story and visions for the future. We're here to create a space to network and to learn from each other's experiences. What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 10. This is actually part 2 of James Altucher, Visions of the Future. This is a theme that Nick and I are going to use more going forward with our guests, which is talking to them about what they think is going to be prevalent in the future, as well as how you can position yourself now to take advantage of those opportunities. So in today's episode, James goes over what he thinks the reactions to COVID-19 will be. Is autonomy going to take over all of our jobs? And is growing income inequality a concern? So a lot of cool topics. If you haven't seen part 1, I highly suggest going to check that out. That's how to be an idea machine. James has a whole list of achievements and accomplishments, but he's written Choose Yourself, which is regarded as one of the best business books of all time. And he's also started over 20 different companies, job titles ranging from computer programmer, having his own show, hedge fund manager, VC investor, you name it. He's even been chess master. So super cool guest. You can check him out on Instagram at @jaltucher or on Twitter. And he has his own blog and podcast if you guys want to go check that one out. So guys, enjoy the episode. One of the things that I thought was really cool about your book, and I think right at the start, you go into the American dream and how that's been the model since World War II. Everyone wants the white picket fence, the Jones family, everyone's jealous of them. You get a mortgage, you get life insurance. It's a traditional, it's a ladder, right? And everyone knows that system. And you kind of go into how you feel that system, is maybe breaking down. You've seen inflations in a lot of things. What does society look like in the future with that kind of model?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're already seeing it, and this pandemic and lockdown. It's sort of like in any of these discussions, you can't really ignore the pandemic and lockdown. So in January, it almost seems like ancient history, but you remember when we had a mini World War III?
Yep.
Like we bombed this Iranian guy, and then suddenly World War III was in all the newspapers, and then a week later, it was never mentioned again. And then we had the impeachment reality show, and then we had coronavirus. And you don't really have to mention, and when you're thinking about the future, you don't really have to mention Iran, which was such a huge news event. You don't have to mention the impeachment, which was kind of American history. There's only 3 presidents have been impeached in American history. But you do have to mention this pandemic and lockdown, because the whole world changed. The whole world got locked down. The economy shifted. And, people talk about the new normal. There's not really a new normal. There's going to be it's just going to be different. So fewer people are going to, travel to work, because everyone sort of realized, I was just talking to my book editor. She obviously hasn't been to her office in over 3 months. How long has it been? March 12th, April. Yeah, it's like 3 months. She hasn't been to her office, and she never has to go there. She's done everybody, and she said everybody at her work's done fine working at home. So it's not everybody's going to work from home, but some percentage is going to work at home. There's going to be a lot more focus on health issues. There's going to be a lot more focus on local issues. Like, when was the last time before this period, when was the last time you looked at local news? For me, it was zero.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you guys, but now today, if Mayor de Blasio says curfew at 8 p.m., in New York City, I have to pay attention. I have to be aware of what's local news. If I have a local business, I have to be aware of what's happening in the local community. I never really had to be aware of it before. Either customers would come in or not. But now, for a local business to survive, they have to be much more sensitive to the needs of the local community. Like, are we social distancing? When's the curfews? When are people going to be comfortable coming to my type of establishment? Can I make incentives so that people not only want to come to my local business, but they need to come to my local business, because needs are going to be much more important than wants for the next 1, 6, 12 months. Things like, automation are going to occur. So a year ago, everybody was afraid that automation was going to cost jobs. Well, now everyone's saying we need automation because we don't want to get sick. So doctors want to have robotic surgeons help them out. Grocery stores want drones to deliver. And you see Amazon is doing drone deliveries already. I think North Dakota is testing grocery deliveries with drones into your backyard. So all of these things, so that brings up another theme, which is acceleration. So everything that was going to happen in 10 years is going to happen in 1 year. If you were going to have drone delivery in 10 years, you're going to have drone delivery in 1 year. If you were going to get divorced in 10 years, you're going to get divorced the day after this lockdown's over. So all these things are accelerating. So it's acceleration, it's remote, it's local, it's safety. So all of these words have become really important in terms of, business models of the future. Automation, remote learning. So remote covers a huge category, remote learning, remote delivery, remote medicine, remote therapy, and so on. But video conferencing, like we're on Zoom. Zoom added like 200 million users in the past 3 months. That's unbelievable for a business to add suddenly 200 million new customers in 3 months. Holy moly, that's unbelievable. So in terms of like the economic structure, I think in general, income inequality had been increasing, and people obsess on that. Like, oh, Jeff Bezos is worth this, but someone living down the street with me is only worth this. That's income inequality is an interesting issue, but the other issue is quality of life also has to go up. So it's not, I don't care what Jeff Bezos is worth if my quality of life is okay. If I could get a car and I can go to the beach and go swimming and I'm happy with that, is Jeff Bezos' life better than mine? Not really. It doesn't, your enjoyment of life has, Jeff Bezos also had nude pictures of him shared by some newspaper a year ago. He recently got a divorce. He's got to deal with lots of, issues with business and personal and social, and everybody hates him now because of because of how much he's worth. So I don't know, if I could just wear my pajamas all day, read books, write books, swim in a pool, maybe that's, see my kids. Maybe that's all that's I need in life. So yes, income inequality is getting better, but is getting greater, which is not necessarily better. But the thing you have to look at is quality of life getting better. And what we've seen up until recently is that the unemployment rate for every part of society was its lowest it's ever been. And I don't think this is a political thing. I think it's just as the economy improves, a good economy creates a better economy. So economies have a tendency to always make themselves better. So innovation creates innovation, and innovation creates jobs. Everyone's all worried, oh no, automation is going to take our jobs. It's just not true. So Andrew Yang, for instance, by the way, I love Andrew Yang. I liked him a lot. I really enjoyed reading his books. I loved listening to him. He was so smart. I loved watching him on the Joe Rogan podcast. I wish he had been a little bit more forceful in the debates, but I didn't like his fear-mongering about technology. I actually like some aspects of the UBI. I wish he had focused on the solution, but I get it politically. He needed a bridge to get us there. So, but fear-mongering, he was saying, oh, there's going to be 3 million truck drivers replaced by self-driving of trucks. And then what are these 3 million truck drivers going to do? Well, how about they're going to drive in the city? Because there's currently right now no solutions for self-driving in cities. It's too complicated, and it might be too complicated for another 15, 20 years. So let's say you have self-driving of trucks on highways. Well, that means there's going to be more trucks on highways because it's going to be easier to transport more goods. So there'll be many more goods coming into your town or city, and then they'll still need more drivers than ever to pick up those products from the self-driving cars and deliver into the city. So there's still going to be jobs, more jobs than ever, actually, for drivers. It's like when they created ATM machines, everybody thought, oh, well, bank tellers, they're going to be out of work. Well, guess what? ATM machines increased the profits of banks so much that now there's a bank branch on every corner in every city. There's more tellers hired than ever. So you can't really predict the effects of technology on the future, but they've always created more jobs. It's never been the case that new technologies have resulted in fewer jobs. There might be fewer horse riders, but there was greater jobs in the long run. So in terms of income inequality, I don't worry about that. I worry about, does the spigot of innovation continue? And when everybody's locked down and not sharing ideas, when everybody's got a curfew and not sharing ideas, it's the sharing of ideas that create innovation. Ideas have idea sex even among multiple people who have ideas. And that's how innovation gets created. And that's how ideas evolve much faster than humans. So 20 generation of ideas could occur in a single year as long as people are sharing ideas. I sort of think it was very insidious, this lockdown. We were not allowed really to share ideas in the same way that we used to be. Same with these curfews. Like, we're not allowed to come up with ideas for even reforms in law enforcement because we're all either being shamed or curfewed or whatever. Like, it's only through discourse and discussion that's why freedom of speech is so important. Not so that we can rant our opinions, but so that we can exchange ideas and come up with better ideas. And, so I just think that, so just to summarize, because I threw out a lot of things, focusing on remote, focusing on acceleration, focusing on local, focusing on automation, focusing on safety. These are going to, and focusing on content creation like you guys are doing with this podcast. These are going to be the business models of the future. And when I say content creation, it doesn't necessarily mean, hey, make a podcast or make a YouTube. It might mean, hey, the ecosystem might be bigger. I'm going to make a better software for podcasting. I'm going to make better software for making and distributing YouTube videos. I'm going to make a better software for creating your subscription newsletter or your online course. So, the entire ecosystem around these words that I've mentioned will grow as well. So I think focusing on the future of those types of innovation is really where one should focus, rather than worrying about social issues get solved in a better economy. So the better the economy, the better the healthcare system, which is another reason why the lockdown was so bad. If you have money draining out of an economy, how do you pay the doctors? How do you pay the nurses? How do you pay the frontline workers? You can't. And the government can only print up so much money or else they fail. So I doubt we'll ever see a lockdown again because it was just so negative for society. Many more deaths, we'll see in the end, many more deaths were caused by the lockdown than were caused by the coronavirus. And that's just an opinion, so who knows? I don't really know. But we do know that the mortality rate of homeless people is 9 times greater than the mortality rate of people who have homes, and that the homeless rate is going to go up because 40 million people lost their jobs. So all of these things were not factored in when they created a lockdown.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. So our last question. So sorry this took so long, but it was
no, it's my fault. I talk so much.
Your answers are amazing, and I hope all our listeners will love them because the two of us do. But
I hope they will too.
It's sort of a continuing from your last answer. Is, will technology reach a point where it won't make you happier anymore, where it will take your creativity and it will be worse for you to be in technology than sort of distance yourself? Like, we already see that Instagram, if you do it every day for 20 minutes and you create something on Instagram, it'll probably make you happier than scrolling through Instagram for hours and hours.
Right. Right. So there's a couple of interesting things there. One is, will more technology make people less happy? That's sort of like looking at, will more technology mean there are fewer opportunities for jobs? Like, the answer is no, just to that. It's like you say, when you create something and put it on Instagram, that feels good. You're being creative. So the more, right now I could take my iPhone and I can shoot a movie just as high quality as Lawrence of Arabia. the story might not be as good and the acting might not be as good, but the video will look better. And so, and then I could just upload it to YouTube and 1 billion people can watch it within a month. So that's unbelievable. And so there's more opportunities for creativity than ever because of technology. And there's more opportunities, like, you know, for everything. Like 100 years ago, or let's just say 110 years ago, if you had a toothache, you were going to die. Like sometimes when you need a root canal, that is, toothaches and root canals were the number one reason for suicide in the 1800s, because a root canal, you couldn't get better. If your tooth was infected enough, it would never get better. And that toothache would just throb. It would never end. It will never, ever, ever end. And in 1913, the first school for oral hygiene opened up. And then later on, you had better advances in painkillers. And so dentistry improved and people were happier. And it's the same thing with any technology now. You don't really want to go back I don't want to go back to a period where there wasn't the internet, because I love being able to look things up. Was copper really antiviral? Let me look that up. Oh, 3 seconds later, it was used in ancient Egypt for its antiviral qualities. Are there such thing as copper pajamas before I waste 6 months making them? Oh yeah, 2 seconds later, yeah, there are copper pajamas. So the internet is like infinitely valuable for information, for entertainment, for creativity, and just any technology. Like I can't wait till I have a flying electric scooter to get around town. Like that's going to be the coolest thing in the world. So, but I do think, you touch upon something very interesting, that if you hit the homepage on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, man, there's no faster way to get angrier and more frustrated. Like, I can't believe that they're saying that. I can't believe this. I got to respond. And you realize that an hour or 2 hours later, you've just been responding to someone who's completely anonymous, that you're never going to meet. They might even be a robot. You have no idea. And so what happens is, we all have inside of us happy chemicals. So when someone's depressed, it's usually because they're lacking either dopamine or serotonin. And so a lot of antidepressants, like Prozac, for instance, are called SSRIs, which stands for serotonin, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of these antidepressants give you more dopamine or give you more serotonin. So dopamine is sometimes referred to as the molecule of more. So you want more and more and more. And so when I post something on Instagram, a photo, I check back later, I want more likes. It makes me feel good to have more likes. Oh, if I sit here and wait, can I get even more likes? I refresh. Did I get more likes? Oh, I feel even better now. But if you just, so dopamine doesn't know what you're doing. It just satisfies this need for more. So if you're doing more things that are creative and worthwhile and aligned with your passions and purpose and so on, then the dopamine goes up and you feel happy. But if you're also happy when you first start scrolling down the homepage of Instagram. Oh, that's a nice photo. That's a nice photo. That's a nice photo. And so the dopamine is equally satisfied, but you could go down this rabbit hole of like never ending pain and anguish, like, oh, why wasn't I invited to this party? There are these Instagram photos. So now my cortisol goes up because maybe I'm being kicked out of the tribe. Like 20,000 years ago, if you were kicked out of the tribe, there's only 30 people in your tribe. If you weren't invited to the main party, you might get eaten by lions because the alphas that were all invited to the party. Well, I'm not an alpha. I'm an omega. I'm going to have to not get the food. I'm not going to get I'm not going to get the mating opportunities. I'm going to sleep on the edge of the tribe so the lions could eat me first. So cortisol spikes and that mingles with the dopamine. So it creates this cocktail of more, but stress. Mm-hmm. And so you get this huge fight or flight instinct like we would have 20,000 years ago if cortisol was spiking, but you can't fight and you can't flight. You're just sitting still staring at a computer screen and you're feeling the same fight or flight that our ancestors felt 20,000 years ago. So that's very painful. So to your point, it's still a matter of self-discipline of how you use these new technologies. You can't become a slave of the technology. The technology is just there to be our slaves. And that's an important thing to remember as we get more and more innovative as a society.
Well, that was an awesome answer. Really did a job. And our coach talked to us about fight or flight about every day in practice. So.
Well, he shot up our cortisol levels. I'll tell you that for sure. He definitely, we got us going.
Cortisol is not a bad thing because it does. We view cortisol as bad. Like, I don't like to feel stressed, but if the tennis ball is coming at you at 100 miles an hour and you have to hit it back in order to win, it's good if cortisol spikes. Otherwise, like for instance, if you have too much serotonin, you're going to be like, well, it's fine with me if the ball just goes past. I didn't really feel like running that much anyway. I'm happy just standing here.
Yeah.
Like, so too much serotonin would make you a bad tennis player.
Very true. Well, we really appreciate your time. This has been awesome. You've been amazing, and like I said, you've helped us incredibly over the last few weeks. Just reading your stuff, just listening to your stuff, I feel like a different person. So I really appreciate everything that you do.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks so much, and thanks for asking me to come on the podcast. I really enjoyed it, and let me know when it comes out. I'm super excited for it.